Hello guys, my name is Johnson and I am a 400 level medical student from the University of Jos. So today I want to give 10 tips to all Jambite. Now this is divided into two. This is the first part is before your exams, some of the things you should consider or you should check before you start your exam, and then the second part will be during your examination. Tip number one, you need to plan well. Now I know that the exam is probably around the corner and you do not have all the luxury of time to begin to read everything. So this is where you need to be straightforward in your studies. When I mean straightforward, I mean you should go through Jamb syllabus and check out the topics you need to study. You don't need to read everything because you don't have the time to read everything. You don't have the luxury of time to go through everything again. The exam is already at the corner and you have to read precisely. Tip number two, constant reading. You have to just keep reading, guys. Keep reading till the day you finish your exam. Don't be tired. I know that a lot of times you could get tired, you could get overwhelmed, with a lot of things, but I personally have sat for Jamb over one time and I know how it feels. So you need to be consistent in your reading. Set out a timetable, be consistent, and always ensure that you go through all that you planned in your timetable. Practice past questions. Now Jamb does not have time to set new questions. No new question will be coming out for you. Okay, so it is the questions they've done over the years. If you go through Jamb past questions, you discover they repeat questions a lot of times. They do not have time to begin to synthesize new questions again. Nobody has the time to do that. So try and as much as possible as you're studying, also study past questions. You could go to like 5 years, study 5 years past questions, or Jamb of like 5 to 10 years. Just go through the past questions and answer them and try to check it out, and you will see that they repeat past questions a whole lot. Then the fourth tip is do not neglect use of English. I know that especially if you're a science student, there is that tendency that most science students do not love English. Like I personally, English was one of my favorite, and so I loved English even more than biology or physics or chemistry. So I know that as a science student, there is a tendency that you would want to neglect English, or you do not, in quote, like English. But guys, that's where you could get easy marks. There is no calculation, there is nothing to crack your brain or think twice. I mean, it's just for you to read a passage and answer. So do not neglect use of English. This is very, very key and important. So tip number 5, rest well before your exam. So let's assume you have exam the next day. Do not read overnight. Do not read all through the night. This is because there's a way your brain functions, and there won't be time for me to begin to go through that in details. As a medical student, I know how this works. There's a way your brain works. You need to rest before your exam, else you could just go off. You could just go blank on the day of your paper. So once you have an exam, probably the next day, you could read from morning, and once it's just getting night, you could just sleep and rest, so that your brain will be fresh for the next day. This is very important, guys. Do not read all through the night when you have an exam the next day. So start with your most preferred subject, or the subject you perform very well in it. So let's say as a science student, you are writing English, biology, physics, chemistry, and you are very good at biology. That should be your first subject to start. Do not start with a subject that you are not so good, or you do not like it so much per se. Okay, so if biology is your favorite and you perform very well in biology, try as much as possible to start biology first. Then always be time conscious. Jamb has a time for I think a general time, I think 2 hours or so. I'm not sure if it's still 2 hours, but so in every subject there is time allotted to you. Try and ensure that you are time conscious. Always be checking your time. Let's say you have 40 minutes for each subject, and you start with biology. As soon as the 40 minutes over, do not continue, go to the next subject. That's how you should do it until you're done with all your subjects before you begin to come. Do not be tempted to spend more than the allotted time for each subject, guys. This is very, very important. Do not spend so much time on a certain subject, on a particular subject. It's almost the same thing with the way I say. So if it's mathematics you're doing, I know that mathematics has a lot of there is a tendency to have so many calculations, and you might want to spend more time to do it. No, all the time you allot for each subject, try as much as possible to go through it, and once it's time, you stop and go to the next, regardless of the subject you're doing. So the next point will be avoid any form of exam misconduct. Now I know that every exam body has a conduct, a particular manner in which they want you to respond or to write to exam. Please try as much as possible to adhere to it, especially Jamb, because Jamb have CCTV cameras and they try to pick you up and penalize you. So please and please try as much as possible to avoid any exam misconduct. Then lastly, pray before you start. I do not know if God means anything to you, but I'm a Christian and I pray the Lord, and that has helped me all through my journey, even in medical school and others. So try as much as possible to engage God before you write your exam. Thank you. Please don't forget to subscribe, like, and drop your comment in the comment section below. See you, and I wish you all the very best. Thank you.